Good morning, folks. Hope you're all doing well today. My name is Tim Adler, meteorologist. Making a late video this morning. Just had surgery yesterday on my mouth, so may talk funny today. We'll see. But want to put a video out here and appreciate y'all watching. We got some rainfall going here in the Northeast, some snow up here in the upper Midwest on the backside of that system that brought severe weather yesterday, and we have some snow here in the Colorado as well, Montana, and other parts of the northern high plains. So um, appreciate all y'all watching today. Like my video if you like it, subscribe, share with your friends. And today we're going to go over the short-term forecast, talk about the severe weather potential this weekend, as well as go over the potential for a nor'easter. Looks like it might be more likely than it was yesterday, with potentially heavy snow amounts along the eastern seaboard Sunday into Monday here. So that being said, let's get started. As far as current hazards this morning, this is the national view, right? Up here in the Northeast, we got winter storm warnings and winter storm watches up to the Northeast where it's colder here. Snow is going to be pushing up into this area today, potentially freezing rain as well on the southern edge here. Parts of New York, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, Vermont, with the exception of Maine, really here. So maybe some dense fog advisories here along the southeast coast. Some flood warnings here in the Ohio Valley, on points eastward here. We had a excessive rainfall outlook that highlighted this area yesterday. High wind warnings, maybe wind advisory, sorry. On the front side of this snow, the system that's coming through right now. Winter storm watches on the back side of it here where it's snowing heavily right now. And the red flag warning has moved a little bit further south today for the high winds along the and wind gap events as well here with high wind warnings and high wind watch. Well, I don't know if there's any wind watches here, but high wind warning and some winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings in the parts of the Intermountain West here and a higher terrain of the desert Southwest. California and Nevada, we got the looks like a freeze warning here in the valleys, right? And some winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings, and some wind advisories here as well. And looks like winter storm watch, Northern California here, and a freeze warning here right along the Washington coast. So well, I forgot to mention this dense fog advisory along the Texas, Louisiana coastline as well. So as far as excessive rainfall, we really don't have anything on the books here for the first 3 days, today, tomorrow, and Sunday. Going into Monday, we have a marginal risk here of excessive rainfall, generally from north of San Francisco up towards Portland, Oregon, and points to the west here, generally east of the higher terrain, right? We go into day 5, which is Tuesday. That moves a little bit further south into San Francisco area, Fresno, Carson City, Susanville, Eureka. So return to the onshore flow here on the west coast with which is beneficial, although we could do without the flooding part. As far as severe weather for today, we don't have a risk of any severe weather, but general thunderstorms all along where this boundary is into the north, the south here. Well, not the south, the north part of this moisture that's going to the. I keep saying the same thing over again. Pain meds will do that to you. So basically, I got 2 implants in my jaw and they ratcheted those in there. So yeah, it's trying to manage the pain here. So anyway, general thunderstorms, Mississippi, Georgia, South Carolina, Virginia, Massachusetts, Michigan, and parts of Colorado today. Until tomorrow, we got a small marginal risk here. Central Georgia points south and points eastward here and into parts of southeastward Alabama, far northern panhandle here, just north of Tallahassee. You can see we got ongoing storms. Well, not necessarily, maybe some convection here, but anyway, it's for today, just general thunderstorms. Tomorrow, we got this marginal risk here, and this is driven mostly by tornado risk here. which is interesting. It's right over my area here. So looking at we'll go over that as part of the forecast today. Also, the larger risk is driven by wind here. So generally north of Macon down to Valdosta, that whole area here. No severe hail expected, although there could be some hail, but it won't reach severe limits. So yesterday we had temperatures that were 10 to 20 degrees above normal, and we broke records in Atlanta, Athens, Columbus, and Macon. We tied a record back in 1956, and that could happen again today. Um, so, um, and today highs are forecast to be in the 70s and low 80s, so may break records again today, like I said. And there's also a severe weather threat for our area tomorrow. And the greatest risk as of right now is between 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. Large hail possibility, damaging winds and tornadoes. Although the hail, I wouldn't say that's the biggest threat. Damaging winds and tornadoes are probably the biggest ones here. Now going into today, generally 70s up to the north, low 70s to near 80, low 80s here far to the south. Precip chances ramping up here near 80% for most of the area, with the exception of northwest Georgia. So we need the rain, so no big deal. Tonight, excuse me, pretty cool up to the north here, north of Boundary probably, is why the temperatures are cooler here. And far to the south, still very warm, 60s, the mid 60s here. And precip chances look to be about the same, except farther to the west here, and reaching, pretty high precip chances even tonight. So this will continue into tomorrow as well. And here it is, tomorrow's forecast, 100% chance of precip in the dark green area. Otherwise, lesser probabilities for the north and south. And cooler up to the north here, but very warm to the south of this boundary, highs near 80 degrees. In the middle Georgia and points south, really 70 degrees and higher for tomorrow. So let's talk about the severe weather real quickly here. Potential tomorrow in the south. Let's just start off with this. This is the NAM, the NAM, right? The convection allowing model, 3 kilometer. We got a system up to the north here. Going through today and tonight into the morning. We have a southerly flow and a boundary sitting up here. You see a surface low developing here, right? And that's going to be the impetus, I think, for potentially severe weather in middle Georgia, even though it's rather weak. There's some vorticity associated with it, right? And that's going to move offshore eventually here and be the seedling for this nor'easter potentially, right? Wants to develop it really far offshore, far to the south here. So looking at 500 millibars, we can kind of see what's going to happen here with that. See the 500 millibar flow. We have a pretty intense jet stream moving offshore here. Drop digging, right? Not really digging just yet, but starts to take on a more favorable tilt, right? And this is 11 p.m. Going back a little bit. This is 4 a.m., right? You see these little areas in the flow here. That's convection moving through, and the surface flow developing here, right? Just right to the north of that, where that surface flow is. We go back to where the surface flow here. Right. So there's your surface flow. Okay. So we move back with this. Okay, you see what happens here. Now we're going to zoom in to this area and look at it a little more closely here. So with the surface flow, you see it here moving through the flow. Not really that strong, but enough to do something in the atmosphere here. You can see if you look at this, you can generally see where a warm front might be, generally here, right? And low pressure right here. You see the wind barbs going this way, just kind of going around, right? So us in middle Georgia are right here, okay? And there's a boundary it's going to be setting up somewhere in this area, okay? So with the surface low moving through and some additional forcing, maybe moving through this way, could contribute some vorticity here, and we're going to look at that in the atmosphere here. So the short term, we're starting off with just general rain showers, maybe some more rain through the period to start this, right? Just overall, just general rain, not a lot of thunderstorms, maybe some thunderstorms, right? But nothing major. Now we get into Saturday evening, right? The NAM, overnight into Sunday. This is when it wants to bring this line through, although it doesn't look like that strong in this run. But let's take a sounding real quickly here and look at this. So you see what I'm talking about here. If this profiles are right, uh, you know, you could have potential. The surface-based CAPE is 2,000 joules per kilogram. Mixed layer CAPE 1,500. I think that might be a little overdone. Let's look at the see if the HR has the same time period here. Go a little further out here. I don't think so. Let me go back to the NAM. Sorry about that. NAM. This is how many hours? 43 hours out. So the parameters space is there. Now let's look at the dew points real quick at the surface and temperatures here. Real quickly. I'm doing this on the fly, guys. So you see temperatures here where this boundary is, right? Where this boundary sets up, very warm, right? 70s to 50s. And you see little, let's look at this here real quick. Little things moving through there like that. The little perturbations moving through the flow there as that boundary moves to the south. So, and see how it doesn't get that much further north. There's quite a sharp cutoff here. And look at the dew points. This measure of moisture in the atmosphere. The NAM really wants to bring some warmer air, 60, 70 degree dew points here with this. So you see the highest amounts are right here where the surface low is moving, and it's streaming right up in the middle of Georgia. So that's why they're highlighting this area for potential tornadoes and severe wind gusts. So there's a lot more parameters to look at, but you know, then it further moves out, right? So you see what happens there. So I guess I could spend all day talking about this, but those are some of the parameters that we have in place. And you saw a couple of the soundings there that indicate a potential for a tornado tomorrow. Although the highest risk is winds, and we talked about that in the severe weather outlook as part of this video. So I'll keep watching this today and talk about it more tomorrow morning as well. So we have quite a temperature swing coming up on Sunday. As a cold front pushes through, temperatures dip in quickly to the 50s for highs on Sunday, and then 40s for highs on Monday, and lows below freezing, right? So below average lows until Thursday, when we have another quick warm up briefly, then cooling off again a little bit. And then about average temperatures here for lows and highs, maybe a little bit above normal here, but other than that, you know, not extreme by any means, but we're getting that time of year where it's going to be in the 60s to near 70 degrees. And temperatures overnight aren't that cold or warm. They're pretty average here. So that's good, at least right now. That's what it looks like. So this is the fire weather outlook for day one. It was just today. You have an elevated and critical risk along the Texas, New Mexico border in the parts of Colorado here, and in just parts of South West Texas and the northern and the Boot Heel here, and parts of Oklahoma and Kansas here. So be mindful of that. If you're going to burn today, I wouldn't advise it. When they put these products out, it's important to keep an eye on this. Not many people talk about this fire weather risk, but it's here. So Don't make it worse by burning, okay? Tomorrow, the fire weather risk moves further south. Elevated fire weather risk, not nearly as bad as it was, is today. But be mindful of this. Don't burn when this is going on, right? Um, it doesn't make sense why you would do that, but people do it anyway sometimes, and that's what causes problems here. So ongoing fires will be a problem as well. So be mindful uh, of the weather and take advantage of when to burn when there's a lot more moisture in the atmosphere. So, yep. So, day 3 to 7 hazards. We got quite a bit on the map here. We talked about this briefly before, but off on the eastern seaboard, still doubling down on this potential for heavy snow and high winds and significant waves. We'll see what they come up with in the update today. Out west, 23rd through the 24th. See a chance of high winds here, heavy snow, heavy precip in the Cascades here, Nevada range here, and parts of the higher terrain of Idaho. Heavy snow and hazardous cold and high winds here in Alaska during this period as well. So to start off this is a discussion about the potential nor'easter and heavy snow along the mid-Atlantic, right? And what I want to start with here is a 500 millibar flow to mid-levels, right? Most of our players are already over the continental U.S., right? We have 500 millibar trough here, some other this a closed low and some short waves and different energy moving through the flow, right? We'll start with this. All right, this is 1 a.m. So the latest run. Move forward in time. It's about let's go to 7 a.m., which is about now. Okay, Eastern time. Low up here, low here. Some energy diving to the south here, right? See what happens here. We have more energy down here and in the 500 millibars right here as well. And we'll set another Vort Max up here. This energy starts to consolidate here. And you see it's starting to take on negative tilt with what looks like maybe some ridging up here that's keeping this from really moving to the east, right? You have another mid-level vorticity here. You see this starts to consolidate as it gets offshore here, right? And boom, then you got your mid-level feature consolidating with a short wave pushing through here, right? And this is right offshore. Okay, so with this scenario, we have a lot of forcing right along the coastline here, and the potential for a very impactful snowfall event. Not to say this is going to happen, right? But the trough strings through, and it's almost ideally situated for at least the way this model goes, this model run, the 6Z GFS, to bring heavy snow along the eastern seaboard. And one of the things we look at too here is what kind of tilt this takes. It's like a neutral tilt right now, right? With some divergence, right, as well. Okay, so that's this scenario. I'm not saying the GFS is the model that's going to play out, but this is what it shows. So what are the impacts going to be? Let's take a look at that real quick. If it plays out like the GFS is forecasting, you see it wants to develop a low down here, some snowfall maybe into parts of Tennessee, the higher terrain here as this low moves to the north, okay? It's almost like it has two different lows here initially, but you see the heavy snowfall right along the coast here, okay? Tightly packed isobars as well, which could lead to inland coastal flooding here. And that's highlighted by the 3 to 7 day hazards outlook by the Weather Climate Prediction Center. Let's look at that real quick. You see, this is the time period we're talking about here along the coast. They're highlighting the high winds, significant waves, and heavy snowfall along the coast here. So that's important because the experts are saying it, not just Tim Ayler here. So to start with, we get the surface here, right? And we show heavy snow right along this area, right? And this is where this starts out in the northeast. Lows cranking up here, right? It really wants to consolidate as it gets a little further offshore, right? and you have the 70-degree line, which is the benchmark. Um, and so, does it cross that? Pretty much here. The 70-40 benchmark is what they use in meteorology to kind of, it's what they use to determine whether you're going to get a nor'easter or not, really. If it crosses near or is the most intense at this point, chances are you're going to have, if all the other players are in place, cold air and moisture and all that stuff, you're going to get a nor'easter, right? So it intensifies rapidly here as it moves towards the benchmark, okay? You could have a blizzard going on here in parts of eastern New England, right? 972 millibars. That's pretty intense, all right? So what are the winds going to look like? Let's take a look real quick. To start off, the winds aren't that high, right? As this system really cranks up. Highest winds are just offshore, but even right along the coast here, um, Delaware, Maryland, and New Jersey coast, 50, 60 mile per hour wind gusts. Let's look at sustained winds real quick. Yeah, so let's look at sustained winds, 40, 50 miles per hour here. This cranks up. You see right along the coast here, and you know, onshore winds could bring flooding. And you see how tightly packed the ice bars are when we get back to the surface, right? Real quickly here. Okay. This is a pretty intense low for this latitude. So, and because it's crossing the benchmark, um, you know, that lends a lot of credence to the forecast, at least with the GFS. One thing that we haven't really discussed is the waves involved with this, right? When this system gets going into Sunday, this European output, very high winds and waves. I mean, approaching 50 feet just offshore, 40, 30 feet here. You can see how they are right off the New England coast here, okay? The total swell height is also very high. And with the moon phase and the tide at the right time here, we could have inland, some lowland flooding here. And significant waves, you can see the significant waves of low pressure here moving out, right? And so if this scenario plays out, I'm not saying this is going to be the final scenario, but if it does play out, there's multiple things going on here. Now, I know everybody wants to see what the snow totals are going to be. I want to show this, and this is a high-end scenario, right? But this is the GFS, this is the model I've been using, all right? So I'm going to switch to the European real quick just to show you what the difference is. Big difference here. So quite a bit of uncertainty here still. Even though, let's see, go back one around with the European here. Yeah, so there's still quite a bit of uncertainty here, really, between models. So um, going back to the GFS, I know some people are going to yell at me why I use the GFS, but this is for illustration purposes only, okay? So, yeah. Also, I want to show the Canadian model here, which has a slightly different scenario with the low cranking up further to the north and west here. We go to the surface with this again, multi-parameter, p-type, okay. It crosses just to the east of this the 4070 benchmark. So we still could have impactful snow here with the inverted trough, right, and maybe along shore here, but not nearly as intense. Well, it does get intense pretty quickly here, but it's a little too far away from the shoreline. So still quite a bit to be worked out with this. As far as the slight risk, well, as far as the risk of heavy precip, excuse me, we have a slight risk of heavy precip, the 27th through the 1st here along the west coast, northwest coast of Oregon and Washington State. As far as snowfall goes, like I said, this is 8 to 14 day hazards. The 7th through the 27th through the 1st here, depending on where you're at in the continental U.S., have a risk of heavy snow, right? So Out west, not as active as it was, but still this northern part of the country could use the snow here. And lake effect favorite areas with a trough setting up here in the northeast and Midwest. High winds are going to be a factor here, especially out west into the Intermountain West and parts of the Front Range, with maybe a fire danger ramping up again through this period, right? The 7th through the 1st, and the 7th through the 3rd, and eastward here as well, and along the eastern seaboard, the northeast, where a boundary and maybe setting up, and a slight risk into Alaska here as well. As far as temperatures, looking to be below normal here, with a moderate risk of below normal temperatures in southern Alaska, with a slight risk encompassing the whole state. And that's it for the 8 to 14 day hazards outlook. So when looking at the 6 to 14 day temperature outlook, we'll start with the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. Looking to be really cold here in Alaska, with high confidence of below normal temps here through this period. Most of the nation, this Climate Prediction Center is predicting to be above normal, with the exception of southern Florida, the northern tier of the U.S., and the northwest coast here, with above to near normal to below the Aleutian Island chain and above in Hawaii. And we move into a more zonal flow here further through the period, 8 to 14 day period here, towards the first part of the month, with near normal to below normal temps just on the northern tier of the U.S., with higher confidence and above normal temps further to the south. Below in Alaska, above to near normal to below, depending where you're at in the Aleutian Island chain, and above in the Hawaiian Islands. And moving on to the 6 to 10 day precip outlook, we looking to be above normal for a good portion of the U.S., with the exception of the central U.S. and southern U.S., near normal to below in the southwestern U.S. here, and right along the California and Oregon coast. Below to near normal to above in Alaska for precip chances during this period, above Aleutian Islands, and above in Hawaiian Island chain. And as we go to 8 to 14 days out, the 27th through the 5th here, keep getting ahead of myself, we transition to a below normal precip regime again for the Southern California and the desert Southwest areas here, with maybe above normal precip chances in the green, but not a lot of confidence here. Near normal in the gray, right? And the green here depicts a leaning above above normal precip chances in southern Florida, and above to near normal to below in Alaska, and you see where it is in Hawaii here, and near normal in the Aleutian Island chain. And that's all she wrote for the temperature and precip outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. So what are snowfall amounts going to look like? Well, at the beginning period, we got some snow going on in Colorado. Nothing much going on in the Sierra Nevada range here. Higher amounts up here in northern, well, into the upper Midwest and into New England here. 10 inches of snow here, right? This is a 24-hour period accumulation, right? So we got our system moving to the east here. Then we have increase in precip out west, snowfall amounts, right? And the system swinging through the east, you see some higher snowfall amounts here in the Appalachians, parts of the Northeast, and it continues right into Monday. You can see we get in this period, they're highlighting some higher precip areas here for snowfall. Not nearly as bullish as one of the operational runs of the GFS. So we're going to have to see how this changes or evolves over the next 24 hours. I think, we're going to have to really see where this low ends up tracking here and where we end up getting the biggest snowfall totals. And if the low develops closer to the shore, we could get just rain. So, yep, there's still that possibility. So as far as ice goes, to start this into Saturday, right? 24-hour period. Most icing is expected in parts of New England here, New York State, maybe the higher terrain in Pennsylvania here, parts of the Midwest. And then, you go through this period, there's not much more on the map here to show. So moving on to the total precip here through the whole period, right? This is rainfall through the whole period, 72 hours. Highest amounts along the west coast here, and the see right along the Maryland coast, 1 inch of liquid. So it's interesting how this will play out, because if this liquid actually is snowfall, even a 10-to-1 ratio, um, 10, 15 inches of snow, if this equals snowfall, right? So 10-to-1, you multiply 1.5 times 10, that's 15 inches. So we'll have to see how that plays out as well. So to round out this video, I wanted to show you the mid-level water vapor loop here. We got a pretty active system moving through the northeast here, and here's our incipient different mid-level features moving through the flow. And we're going to monitor this in the coming days, and it could bring nor'easter, potentially heavy snow along the east coast, severe weather into the southeast, and then colder air will push pretty far south here. All right, big sharp change in temperature for a few days. And the return of moisture to the west coast here is a good towards the extended. So I appreciate you all watching today and taking time to listen to my video. I hope this was informative, and I'll see y'all later. Have a good day, and God bless.